This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore! Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Mailbag version of the WWE Podcast for this Wednesday, September 13th, 2023. And we're going to get to your emails in a moment. I'd like to invite you, though, to Patreon, because Patreon is a great place to be right now. We're growing pretty quickly, and we've got a new show that's going to be airing regularly, meaning every single week. And I'll be doing a video tomorrow. The video portion, that's kind of like a minute, 2-minute type deal, usually less than 5 minutes. And the After Dark, which is an adult version of the show, that'll be available SmackDown tier and higher only starting Friday. So I'd like to invite you guys to get on board. Anthony DeMarco will be hosting the After Dark show every single Friday. So again, not for the women and children. Well, for the women, but not for the children. So anyway, let's get to the mailbag, everybody. Patrons do get priority, another perk of going on there. And let's see. Let's start off with Thomas Franco, who writes in, and he says, "Hey Matt, hope I'm not writing in too late. I'm currently loving this Gunther and Gable dynamic on Raw. Feels like a genuine world title program. Now that Gunther has become the longest reigning IC champion of all time, I think it's a perfect time to have Gable win the title at Fastlane. Gable has only been elevated by this feud. His matches are always fantastic. He can continue the prestige of the IC title that Gunther has cemented, and honestly, I don't think Gunther can do much more with the belt. It's his time to move on to Seth and the World Heavyweight Championship. I think Seth has done a nice job with the world title, but something is missing from his reign to make it super enjoyable for me, and I can't quite pinpoint it. So ready for Gunther to win the Rumble and take the title off of him." Okay. Well, I agree. The Gunther-Gable dynamic it feels kind of like a throwback program. It's a little bit of hints of comedy in there. But for all intents and purposes, it's a pure wrestling program, a professional wrestling program. And there's nothing complicated about this. It's simple to understand, and you have two legitimately badass dudes. That's what makes it great. And as far as having Gable win it at Fastlane, sure, he could. Again, and I have said this for months, that once we have Gunther pass that IC title reign of the Honky Tonk Man, it's fair game. It's open season on Gunther. Anything's possible. He could lose it at any time. Now, there is still those that believe he could go all the way to WrestleMania as champion, and there's a case to be made for that. You can never add too much value to a belt. You really can't. Has he done more than we could have ever expected or thought? Yes. Would Gable benefit from this? Yes, he already has, as you mentioned. So I wouldn't hate it, but I would agree that when Gunther loses that belt, that's a sign that Gunther is being elevated, not demoted. And it could be right into Seth Rollins, or we could have the inevitable, long-awaited Drew heel turn on Seth. So either Drew McIntyre or Gunther is next after Shinsuke. You would imagine. I don't know who else could possibly challenge Seth at this point. So I think that'll be very telling at Fastlane. If Gable is unable to win, then that means that it's probably going to be maybe a Drew McIntyre heel turn before we see Gunther and Seth. But let's see. Lastly, who do you think Roman will face off for the belt next? Something tells me it's going to be AJ Styles at Crown Jewel, and then maybe Bobby Lashley at Rumble. You took the words out of my mouth. That's really the only two competitors right now. I would have said prior to the tragedy that Bray Wyatt was probably in line for a shot. Not that I don't think he would have won, but he was in line for, I think, a massive return, and so much, unfortunately, we'll never ever get to see in our lifetimes here. With Bray and Roman Reigns and that story that never got wrapped up. It would have been a beautiful full circle story. and what I mean by that is, if you remember, Bray Wyatt was the one who ended or rather, Roman Reigns was the one that ended Bray Wyatt in his streak as Universal Champion. So, there is some poetic justice or some poetry there that unfortunately we'll never see come full circle. But back in reality, AJ Styles and Bobby Lashley, yes, absolutely. They seem to be the only two. And I would agree, Crown Jewel is probably the one that's next. You can write, obviously, we wrote off Payback. We wrote off Fastlane. There is an injury he's nursing. And if that gets cleared up before Crown Jewel, then you bet your bottom dollar that he'll be competing at Crown Jewel, because the Saudis will pay anything to get anyone there, as we've seen in the past, even bringing people out of retirement for a match that we won't talk about. Bobby Lashley could be the next one too after that. I mean, he already put WWE on notice with the Hurt Business 2.0 or whatever he's going to eventually call it. So again, not to sound like I have no original thoughts here, but I don't know what else it could be other than the returning, the infamous, at this point it's becoming a parody of itself, Randy Orton return, right? Outside of Randy Orton returning and continuing his program with Roman, of which there is a story there that dates back to May of 2022 when Randy originally went out. Those are really the only three guys. Okay, so you say, I'm really digging the Hurt Business 2.0, and I'm hoping they stay babyface, considering there aren't that many babyface factions on the roster. The only thing the group is missing is a name and an entrance theme. I would agree. Yeah, thanks, Thomas. And that's it. I would not turn them heel. For the love of God, you hit it on the head. We don't need any more heel factions of any kind. Like, we are at capacity. We're good. I don't need them turning heel, because they'll have no one to feud with. We don't want heel versus heel. So I would agree. Thanks, buddy. And let's go to, who do we want to go to next? Let's go to Frankie, or Frank from Patreon. And he says, you had some issues with sending stuff on Patreon. I don't know if anyone else had issues on that. The internal messaging system on Patreon. Frank had an issue. I don't know if anyone else did. If you did, let me know. I'm not tech support on Patreon. This is not specific, hopefully, to me. But if anyone else did, contact tech support on Patreon. That's a them problem, not a me or you problem. But if any time any of the patrons have issues messaging me directly, email me at mailbag@wwepodcast.com, and that's what Frank did here. So you say that. First off, if you can be a manager for any wrestler that is active right now, who would it be and why? Good question. A manager for any wrestler on the roster currently. You're making me think. Okay, you're not going to make this a slam dunk easy question. Fine, let's do it. Massey? No. But I'm looking at the roster right now because I want a full glimpse at it. My initial thought was, LA Knight, but nah. LA Knight can talk. No problem there. Maybe Karrion Kross. I know he's already got Scarlett, but I would like to join, if I could. Again, this is realistic. Karrion Kross can talk, but I think having a manager that can take bumps, not just Scarlett, maybe that. And this is active wrestler right now, not anytime. But second, what is the deal with Wes Lee? Is he leaving? I don't know. You'll have to ask our resident NXT expert. So you can reach Memphis Mark on Twitter. It's MPHS Mark 4, the number 4, and then the letter U. So it's Memphis Mark for you on Twitter. So he will be able to answer that for you. Third, is my assumption that they're going to trade Cody to SmackDown so he can finish the story that he has. But I so hate. What do you want to talk about? Yeah, I don't even want to get into the what do you want to talk about thing. I hammer it every week, but every week he says it, so every week I feel entitled to say something about it because it's absolutely ridiculous. And it's also like just so, it's cringy. Ugh, it's so cringy when he does it. But that said, it's possible Cody goes to SmackDown. You would look at this and say, it's a babyface for a babyface. Cody could be the one to come to SmackDown and work with Roman and finish the story. That wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But here's the thing. And it's true. I know I keep coming back to it, and I say I'm not going to mention it, but we have to. The Rock. If The Rock is coming back and facing Roman at 40, WWE needs to know now. Not a month from now, not 2 months before Mania, and then The Rock decides to cancel because he had as another movie obligation. No. They need to know now, because things like this would affect their decision-making. Because if The Rock's going to face Roman at 40, then obviously Cody isn't. So, sure, they could get to Cody and Roman before that, but that would mean that Cody, if he faces Roman before The Rock, means that Cody is not beating Roman for the belt. So, it presents a lot of weird issues. The Rock is floating out there in Never Never Land, and we have not gotten a solid answer, at least to my estimation, that really would change all the plans moving forward. It makes me want to vomit. Oh yeah, the what do you want to talk about thing. They really need to do something with Drew. Have him turn heel. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, Frank. We're all behind the Drew McIntyre heel turn train. All right. Let's get to another patron of the show, because guys, you get you get priority support here. You get priority placement. So. All right, let's get to our next patron, and this is Charlie Furman. And Charlie says, let me talk to you. It's Charlie from Milwaukee. Only 44 days and counting until John Cena and SmackDown come to Milwaukee. First, I love the 9/11 video package. Makes me think back to being in second grade and watching the second plane crash into the tower. I can't speak for everyone, but 9/11 is very tough due to my second cousin unfortunately flying in the first plane that hit the tower. Oh, yikes. Sorry to hear that. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't in second grade. Everyone knows what they were. Obviously, it's a date that if you were alive, you know where you were. If you're, let me say this: if you're over the age of like 5, you probably remember where you were when you heard it or saw it happen. And I was in. What was I? What was it? That was 2001. So I was a sophomore in high school, and I remember sitting in like homeroom or some. One of the early classes, and I'm like, my friends and I were kind of like making fun of it because, we're 16, number one. And we didn't understand what was happening. We were like, oh my God, a plane hit the tower. What a dumbass, pilot. Right. And then it became apparent of what was happening. I mean, it was a terrorist attack, so, a 16-year-old mind is not the most finished product in the world. But yeah, what an awful, I remember I worked at a grocery store that day. At a local grocery store, and I went in and people are crying, and it's like, wow, it was just like even at 16 or however old anybody is listening to this, I went through it. I mean, it just humbled everyone, stopped everyone dead in their tracks. No, I fortunately I didn't know anybody, but it's, I'm sorry to hear you did. Okay. So you say, weirdly enough, when I got home, my dad had our suitcases packed and said we were driving to Texas right now to go to SmackDown. On our way down, we stopped at a Walmart, and I told my dad I didn't know why we should buy as many boxes of tissues as we can. Luckily, we did, because once SmackDown began and Lillian Garcia sang the national anthem, everyone surrounded by us immediately came running to us and asked for a box. Jeez. Yeah. I remember that SmackDown very well, and anyone that watched it did. It was the first large gathering post 9/11 of any event, and I remember Vince coming out and making a speech, and then of course Lillian Garcia singing the national anthem was, whew. I believe they were in Texas. Was it Houston or Arlington? I can't remember exactly where in Texas. What a SmackDown to be at! Just amazing. Second, and on a much better topic, the Vince McMahon era has come to an end, which brings me to my weekly favorite segment. What are some of your favorite moments that have happened during the Vince McMahon era? Some of mine would be Brett versus British Bulldog from SummerSlam, Triple H versus Shawn Michaels versus Benoit at WrestleMania 20, which I was able to attend. Me too. Stone Cold versus The Rock at WrestleMania 16, 17, 19. Well, you mean 15, 17, 19. I'll let that slide. I was able to attend all three. Okay, this is ridiculous. You're at too many good events. Triple H versus Undertaker, Hell in a Cell 28. Wow, that was a hell of a match. Michaels and Undertaker at WrestleMania 25 and 26. I was able to attend both John Cena versus CM Punk at Money in the Bank, which I was able to attend. No Way Out 02, watching my dad cry when Hogan came back to WWE. Hogan versus Rock at WrestleMania 18, while watching my dad act like the biggest kid I've ever seen in his Hulk Hogan costume. I could go on and on, but other people have emails and calls that need to be answered. Hope everyone has a great week, and if you're a Jets fan, just hang in there. It's only 1 week. There's still plenty of football left to be played. Go Pack, go. Okay, a lot there. First, Vince McMahon being quote-unquote gone. Nonsense. I know that a lot of reports have come out, but let's just put it this way. The Vince McMahon era, in the fact that he is not the owner or the majority owner anymore, has come to an end. But his influence remains. Okay. His influence, unfortunately, is still being felt throughout the company, even on a creative level. So sure, from an on-paper standpoint, Vince McMahon owning the majority of WWE is over, but his influence lives on, my friend. I hate to break it to you. I wish Vince would just step aside completely and just, enjoy his damn life. Enjoy retirement, man. Like, he can't. Unfortunately, that's not in his DNA. Vince McMahon will not give this up until he's dead. I truly believe that. But, I have so many favorite moments. I can't list them right now, but all of yours are awesome. The fact that you were in person for all these makes me so jealous. But I noticed a theme throughout this that a lot of this has to do with your dad. So you guys kind of bonded over wrestling. That's kind of my plan too. I have a son, and my goal is to indoctrinate him into the world of professional wrestling, despite my wife's wishes. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's pretty damn cool, man. So those are memories that can never be taken away. Good stuff. And as far as being a Jets fan, I'm not a Jets fan, but I feel for Jets fans. Are you kidding me with Aaron Rodgers? You get this guy that's going to be, that the guy for you, and he goes down in 4th place. And he's a 2-year contract, so it's about a 6-month recovery from what we're hearing from doctors that I've watched and analyzed this injury. So that puts you, at spring next year. And then is he going to be good to go? Is he going to be able to rehab during the spring and the summertime, be ready for, not spring training, but, training camp? Is he going to be ready for, I don't know. Nobody knows. So this is a touch and go situation, but the Jets, I will say this, from the little I know about football, the Jets defense is for real. If the Jets continue to win or get a playoff spot, it's going to be because of their defense. It's not going to be because of the offense. Their defense is legit. So they're going to have to play small ball with the throwing game, use Breece Hall probably to exhaustion, and dink and dunk with with Zach Wilson. So that's really what they're going to have to do, because Zach Wilson is obviously nowhere near the caliber of Aaron Rodgers. So, all right. Thank you. And let's see what else we got here. Thank you, Charlie. Let's go. I want to make sure I have other patrons. Let's see. Let's go to DJ. And he says, it's DJ Kuzmo back at it again. I know you mentioned it before about Money in the Bank, the briefcase scenario on prior episodes where PJ, that's right, PJ, I'm going to eventually just, it's now just a running joke, I know. He awarded Priest with the El Senor Money in the Bank briefcase, but where's the other one? Is the contract in the new briefcase, or is it still in the green Money in the Bank briefcase? Now, hear me out. I have a conspiracy theory that I gotta call him JD, otherwise I really will get back on the PJ bandwagon. So I'm gonna just call him JD, because if I don't, I'm gonna screw myself up. Okay, so your conspiracy theory is that JD knows the whereabouts of the green briefcase with the contract inside, and when Priest tries to cash the new briefcase on Seth or maybe Shinsuke at Fastlane, he won't be able to because the contract is not in the briefcase. Then JD comes in with the green one and hands it to Priest. But whoever is the champion, either Rollins or Shinsuke, will kick out of a Priest pin. Then JD, trying to help Priest get the victory mistakenly, causes a distraction where Priest gets pinned via a roll-up for the champ to retain. JD tries to apologize the next night on Raw. He gets interrupted by the Judgment Day, and then a 4-on-1 beatdown to JD begins. And Jey Uso comes in to make the save as the Judgment Day scrambles out of the ring, but does the Jey heel turn to be the 5th member of the Judgment Day. since for 2 weeks, the Judgment Day were trying to recruit Jay on their side. Just a thought. It probably won't happen, but stranger things have happened, like case in point, Nia Jax returning and attacking both Rhea and Raquel this past Monday night. One last thing to say. I like this potential feud of Judgment Day versus the Street Profits for the Undisputed Tag Team Championships for maybe Fastlane, even though we didn't have the brand rules, even though we have this brand rules nonsense. DJ signing off. So, okay. So yeah, as far as your scenario about JD and the briefcase, I don't hate it. And JD, or rather, Jey Uso joining that group, it would be something to see. I know WWE looks at Cody Rhodes as their centerpiece babyface on Raw, so that spot's already filled. And you also have Seth Rollins, who's a major babyface on Raw, and you have now Jey Uso. But if Cody goes to SmackDown and Jey stays on Raw, then maybe you've got something there as far as Jey staying a babyface. But if Jey and Rollins and Cody stay, I would think the first one to turn heel would be Jey. At the same time, I don't want him to be in a group. We've seen what him in a group is. Jey Uso has been in a group or a tag team his entire career. I think that it's time to see what he can do on his own. That's more important to me than him turning, oh my God, he's back to a heel. What an SOB. He fooled me, right? We can do that down the line. I want to see what this version of Jey looks like. And honestly, he's getting such big reactions. Do you want to try to risk it? I wouldn't. So, all right. Let's go on here. Let's talk to Bad Fish. And he says, it's King Scully. I mean, Bad Fish. Just kidding. Yeah, I know. Now you guys are going to screw me up. Now I don't know who the hell's who. So we're not the same person. I know. First off, being a rapper, I wanted to shout out Scully about his "I'm not a fish, but I'll batter anyone that comes at me" line. Nice stuff. Anyway, my question is, do you have any early predictions for the potential War Games matches if they choose to go that route? I'd love to see Jacob and Zia Fatu join the Bloodline and see them in a match. That's not good, right? It's not a good sign that I don't know how to pronounce the name. I don't know who the hell that is. I know the last name. I don't know. Are they? This is not good. Now they're part of obviously they are part of the family. All right. I know that. The Samoan dynasty. I understand that. But here's the thing. I don't think we need any more members of the Bloodline. I think we've seen this play out. The whole family, intra-family, alliance and the intra-family feuds and we're done with that. What I would think is going to happen at the Survivor Series, if there's a War Games match, is we have the Bloodline and the Judgment Day in the same match against Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits, and Cody, Seth, and Jey on the other side. That's a mega match. Now, I know you're kind of throwing your eggs in one basket, but it does leave Kevin and Sammy out there. They can still have a program. But that's what I would do. It would almost be like the modern version of the corporate ministry with the Judgment Day and the Bloodline joining forces, and then having the opposing baby faces. That would be a hell of a match. That's my guess. In closing, to answer Charlie's question, my favorite John Cena moment was nothing spectacular, but it means a lot to me. It was his match on the final SmackDown of the year when he teamed with KO against Sammy and Roman. It's special because we were on a family vacation and I was able to take my son for his first WWE show ever. My first show since my dad took me when I was young. Everyone have a good week. King Scully, Bad Fish. Okay, Bad Fish. So, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Even if it's not a big moment that it's in storyline terms, if it means it's a big moment for you, that's what's the most important. And it seems like a lot of family connections are happening here. See, you guys are encouraging me to bring my son. Okay, I got to do it. All right, thanks, Bad Fish. Let's go. Diego from Honduras, Central America. He says, I just finished watching Raw, and I think overall it was a very decent show, although I didn't like that they brought Nia Jax back. I don't understand why you would bring back more women who are not household names instead of focusing on elevating the women that you already have who are not doing anything at the relevant at the moment. I guess this means that management doesn't really care much about the women's division. Sure, Nia versus Rhea will be a very physical match, but that's it. I don't see any value in bringing her back for the long run. Look, I'm not right now on the surface. I'll let it breathe, but I don't like this move either. But the argument against it, if I'm playing devil's advocate, is fine. You want to build new stars? I agree. We should. That's what this business is built on. That's how you keep the business going. But how do you build new stars? Part of that, a very big part of that, is having established stars work with those new stars. So sure, bringing back Nia Jax, is it really about Nia Jax? Maybe not all about Nia Jax. It could be about having her work with new talent. Now, WWE, as of late, in the last few months, have not done a good job about focusing on new talent. It seems to be the same cast of characters rotating through. And Rhea Ripley has had, up until Raquel, has had no credible opponents. And the women she did face, like Zelina Vega and Natalya, they didn't gain anything from facing Rhea. Nothing. Now, Zelina had a hell of a moment in Puerto Rico, but in terms of long-term career, building for that next star. So yeah, and as far as Rhea versus Nia, maybe versus Raquel in a triple threat, whatever it is, we all know what the match is going to be. We just saw that style of match 3 times already. So anyway, I had also an idea about Dom. What do you think about giving him a megaphone to speak through to sort of fight the audience boos? He could also use the siren on people in his way down to the ring or to annoy the other wrestlers. I think that would make people want to boo him even louder, where you can have him personalize the megaphone like Jimmy Hart did back in the day. Keep up the good work. Have a great rest of the week. Hell of an idea, Diego. I love that. Because eventually, look, Dominic, and I said this last night, Dominic is going to have to talk. I understand it's fun to drown him out with boos, and a lot of people legitimately hate him, and that's heat that you can't buy. And that's the reaction that heels dream of. But you're also hampering his growth and development by not letting him talk. And it's going to have to eventually break. And I think the way you do that is a megaphone would be awesome. What a great idea. All right, let's keep it going. Let's go to, Melbourne here. We're going to Melbourne. Shots fired by LA Knight on SmackDown. When he dissected first line of the Miz's theme song, I Came to Play, he follows up by stating, if I was a complete moron, I'd say let's take a look at that adjective. But I'm not a moron, so I'll say let's look at that verb. Straight up burn on Kevin Nash on his WCW promo about where the big boys play. Do LA Knight and Nash have some sort of beef with one another? Yeah, that was awesome. I originally, when I heard that, I'm like, that sounds familiar. And obviously, the word play is not an adjective. It is a verb. It's an action. It's a physical thing you do. So that's, from what I understand, I think Kevin Nash did say something, kind of negative towards Knight. You can Google it. There was something that Knight, or that Nash said about Knight that wasn't very nice. So I think this was his shot back at Nash, which was great. It was awesome to see one fan on Raw sporting a big yellow sign reading, enough of the what chance. I wonder if he is one of our WWE podcast family members. He could be. And if he is, speak up, my friend, because you deserve a spot on the show, because that sign needs to spread like wildfire. The what chance, outside of Austin, who maybe wants to elicit it when he comes out occasionally, I don't want to hear them anymore. And honestly, I'm kind of sick of Seth Rollins's whoa, and he just stands there like, I don't know. Maybe when you're in person, and I was there in person, it's fun. But for the 99.9% of us watching, in which we are at home, it's annoying, But the what chants are, they died. They should have died 20 years ago. Also, found it funny when Judgment Day came out at the beginning of Raw. Cole said Rhea Ripley is obviously not out here as she is getting prepared for her championship match with Raquel Rodriguez later on tonight. Yeah, right. Like, that matters, Cole. At Payback, Rhea didn't bother preparing for her match with Raquel. Instead, she was too busy spearing KO through the barricade. I'm pretty sure the tag team titles match was before the women's world title match at Payback. Otherwise, I would have made an idiot out of myself. On the subject of Rhea, curious to know your thoughts on Riptide as a finish. I don't like it. It looks weak and awkward. Not enough visual impact to be a believable finish, especially for someone who is as dominant as she is. I'd consider a pump handle slam to be better, as its similarities to Riptide, but it is visually much more effective. Yes, Riptide isn't the best looking. It's essentially just a slam, right? It's a slam that has a fancy name. It's certainly not as bad as some of the other finishes like Big Ending or Cody Rhodes' Crossroads that look just putrid 95% of the time. Yeah, I agree. The pump handle slam, I'm trying to think was it Test? It wasn't Test the one. I know he had a big boot, but Test, Andrew is his real name. I don't know how I remember that, but Test had a pump handle slam as a finish. And I don't think anyone's used that in quite a while. I would agree. You can still call it Riptide, but maybe just modify it a bit. I would agree. Yes. Finally, the Jey Uso quote trade to Raw. And SmackDown getting a draft pick as a result of it. Are we supposed to just have forgotten that Jey effectively quit the business the last time we saw him on SmackDown? I'm out of the Bloodline. I'm out of SmackDown. I'm out of the WWE. I don't even need to bring up the whole debacle of Senator Rhodes pulling it from his political strings to get Jey to Raw. You've already well covered that. Until next time, remember West Side is the best side. So yeah. Again, you're triggering my brain here, but I'm gonna resist the best I can. Other than to say, yes, Senator Rhodes. It's a perfect name for him. He slicked hair, always smiling, kissing kids on the way to the ring. Smiling at the crowd, naming the city he's in. He is a politician with a pro wrestling mask. That's essentially what he is. And maybe that's what tips me off so damn bad about him. But yeah, I know he quit WWE, and then all of a sudden, again, I don't know what vested interest Cody has in this. I have no clue. There's nothing, and we'll probably get no reason. But he quit WWE, and then he's back. So I'm really not sure what to make of it. I don't know what the ultimate goal is either. I mean, Jey turning heel and facing Seth is one for sure. But all right, thank you from Melbourne. Let's go to Chandler, and he says, "Let me talk to you. Have no clue how to open this thing, so let's just talk wrestling. I have zero interest in seeing Charlotte for some reason. I've always been a fan, but lately I can't get interested in what she's doing. It's just so boring." I think Charlotte, if she were here, would agree with you. Charlotte looks bored out there. Does she not? Charlotte has nothing going on for the first time in her career in a long time. Well, that doesn't make sense. It can't be the first time if it... Anyway, it's been a while since Charlotte has kind of had a directionless spot in her career. I agree. But Charlotte looks bored herself. I assume that Sami and Kevin aren't a tag team anymore, and I like that. I just don't see a reason they should be together unless they're tag team champions. Well, the thing is, though, first let me say, I don't want to see these two feud. Every time a team dissolves or a faction dissolves, you don't need to have them feud with the remaining members. It's typical, but you don't need to see it. And in this case, we've seen Kevin versus Sami too many times. They work excellent together, but it would serve no purpose. That said, Kevin and Sami right now, or rather the tag team division as a whole, if you're going to tell me that tag team divisions exist, then those tag teams need to be together even when they aren't facing or challenging for a championship. Because that's why WWE has such a problem with the tag team divisions on the men's and especially the women's side is they just throw two people together when there's a match to be had, but they aren't a tag team to begin with. See, that's the thing. They aren't an established tag team. So you can't have a tag team division if there's no true tag teams. And you can't just come together with two people for a championship match and call them a tag team. They have to exist outside of championship gold and compete and have matches and work up in the imaginary rankings, right? So that's the other thing. But all right, while we're on the topic, I don't know if Kevin's heel or seems like a heel, but that could just be part of his character. I think this was part of his character. Although somebody's due for a big heel turn, with Jay coming to Raw as a massive babyface, Kevin and Sammy are babyfaces. You have, obviously, Seth Rollins is a babyface, Cody Rhodes is a big babyface, Drew's a big babyface. There's somebody out there that's going to turn rather quickly. We have too many big babyfaces on Raw. It sounds like a bad problem to have, but it's not. But it does present an opportunity. And I think with those 5 guys or 6, you're going to have somebody turn. No doubt. All right. Why do wrestlers act like they're incapable of understanding accidents? Like when Jay accidentally kicked Kevin, like he acted like if it was on purpose. It's just ridiculous. Yeah. And here's the other thing too is, you could easily go back and watch the replay. Can you not? I mean, this is 2023. Even 20 years ago, replays existed. You can easily go look back and go, oh, okay, yeah, I was wrong. Oh, that was an accident. Instead, I know it's just pro wrestling. That's one of those things you just have to accept as a pro wrestling fan. Chad Gable is so good right now. It's insane. His most serious promo yet, and he killed it. Agreed. Xavier was trying to make Drew mad by saying he won his title in front of nobody at Mania, while Kofi won his in front of thousands. But Kofi lost his in 5 seconds back to Brock, while Drew beat Brock. If you ask me who you beat is more important, and how many people you win it in front of. Yeah. Plus the thing is that Drew is, that's not in Drew's control. Drew could have clapped back and been like, have you ever won one? Right. Like he could have brought up the fact that Xavier's never even won a major championship, a singles championship. Right. He could have easily slapped back at that. That's low hanging fruit. And just because something's low hanging fruit doesn't mean you shouldn't say it, by the way. That's to me a mischaracterization of insults. But yeah, it's again, the fact that COVID happened isn't Drew's fault. He still achieved what he did. He was the face of the pandemic era as champion. He was in the title picture for like 18 months, did an excellent job, never had a bad match, was a workhorse. Drew did a hell of a job carrying the entire company through the pandemic era. He was, and I feel bad for him, but he was the right guy to do that. I really don't care that Nia is back. I just hope she took some classes on wrestling for everybody's sake. Yeah, I know that she's getting a lot of heat already, and she's just back right now. And I'm not excited to see her either. And maybe she proves me wrong, and I hope she does. I'm rooting for that because I'm a wrestling fan. But there were early on some injuries that happened that were her fault. Some of them were not. She just is running also into bad luck, I think, too. But yeah, we don't need more injuries. I'd agree. All right. I think we have one more email. Let's maybe 2. All right. Mason says, let me talk to you. So sorry I didn't write in last week. Life got the better of me. So a longer email this week. First, are they really making Rhea a babyface or just trying to make Nia Jax look dominant? I think the latter. They're not trying to turn Rhea babyface right now. No. Second, Jey Uso dyeing his hair blue makes sense. I get that he's separated from the bloodline and on a different brand, but he went to Raw, not SmackDown. If the brand split exists, then maybe he won't do blue on the red brand. I don't know. I never really thought about that with the hair dye. Maybe he should be a bit more coherent. Sure. What I'd like is for him to come out to Raw and not say every single time, welcome to Monday Night Raw, as if it's, as if management's peeking out of the curtain and giving everyone who cuts a promo at the beginning of Raw, like a mean face of, you better say welcome to Monday Night Raw or you're going to be fined. I hate it. I hate it. I don't know. It reminds you that this whole show is controlled. That's what it does. Next, does Seth know Japanese? Because he looked like he understood what Nakamura said after attacking Ricochet. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he does. He may know basics. They travel all over the world, and it may not be a bad thing to know the native tongue that you're in, especially if you're going to a market they're trying to get into. So I'm thinking maybe Seth does know basic Japanese, but certainly not fluid. If not, then he did a great job of selling like he looked like he knew. But all of us at home, do we really need to sometimes understand the words to know what the tone is? Finally, it's pronounced coup de grace, not coup de grace, like it's spelled. Yeah, I know that. I was just, if you don't know what I'm talking about, earlier on the show yesterday, I was just looking at the spelling of Finn Balor's finish, the coup de grace, and the way it's spelled, if you actually said it phonetically, not correctly, but phonetically, is coup de grace. Right? Obviously, no one pronounces it like that. I was being a facetious a-hole, is what I was doing, just to get under people's skin. So maybe I'll, from now on, I'll call Finn Balor's finish the coup de grace. Maybe, how about that? Ugh, sounds weird, doesn't it? I'm embarrassed for myself. All right, let's see here. This is from Ryan. Given your interest in Bigfoot and the paranormal, are you going to watch Raw? Are you going to watch the new ghost hunting show hosted by Shotzi and Scarlett? Looks pretty interesting. I'll actually be interviewing them about it in October, so I'll definitely share it when it's published. I didn't know they were doing one, number one. So I'll definitely check out where and when that's going to be airing. And also, do you have a favorite cryptid, ghost case, or UFO case, and why? Oh, well, I can't answer that in a single breath. I will say again, right now I am into the whole Bigfoot thing, which I actually thought was a whole bunch of hocus pocus nonsense. But the show Expedition Bigfoot has changed my opinion in a big way. So Expedition Bigfoot has been, all 4 seasons, which I'm in the 4th season right now. Some of the evidence is absolutely amazing. And I understand, it can be faked. Look, everything could be faked. But some things you just intuitively know, you're like, yes, that's this is not produced. I'm a big fan of Ghost Adventures. Zach Bagans, that whole team. They do an excellent job. UFO case, man, there's just so many of those cases that I've watched over the years. I will say, I don't know about a specific case, but I will say documentary series that I've watched. It's called Unacknowledged. I think it's on Netflix, and you just watch it. Okay. It's called Unacknowledged on UFOs. And then some of these things, man, I could go down a rabbit hole, but I won't. All right. Thank you, Ryan. Now I'm thinking about Bigfoot. Didn't think I'd talk about that tonight, did I? All right. I think that does it for the emails. Time to jump into the voicemails, so here we go.
Podcast world, this is DJ Kuzmo back at it again on your Mailbag show, record to you live on a Wednesday morning, and let's get to your favorite show to come on every single week on the Mailbag, and I'm talking about the Veer Mahan Report. Now, the Veer Mahan Report took place last week Friday down in Hyderabad, India, the Superstar Spectacle, and it was an awesome show. I did get a chance to watch the highlights on YouTube, and of course my guys, the in the share of Veer Mahan and Sangha were in a tag team match to open up the card as they went up against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. It automatically became a 6-man tag match due to the interference of none other than Jinder Mahal, the modern day Maharaja. Here comes Drew McIntyre to even the odds, and we have this incredible 6-man tag match. We, of course, later on, the match did not end the way how I planned it. I wanted the Indus Share to get the victory, but of course, we got the interference of Matt Riddle, causing the distraction to Jinder Mahal as none other than Drew McIntyre got the pin and the win for the babyfaces of Drew, Sammy, and KO. So I hope to see my guys, the in the share, back on Monday Night Raw, because Superstar Spectacle is over. I do not want to see them on WWE Main Event. And once again, this is your guy, DJ Kuzmo. Have a blessed week. Be kind to one another. Stay healthy, my friends, and peace.
Hey, DJ. Yeah, this is time to move them to the main roster, right? Like, I think we're all done with the Indus Share on the main events or not being on the show or what have you. It's time to move them consistently to the main roster. And when they had promoted originally a tag team title match with Sammy, Kevin, and the Indus Share, I said, here we go. Finally. And there was a chance I thought that they could win the belts. That went out the window when the titles were taken out of the picture, which really surprised me. They very rarely demote a match after advertising it. Very rarely. So I was very surprised about that. And it is disappointing, obviously, they lost. So, yeah, now that the tag team champions are heels and the Indashir are heels, I don't, right now, for the next several months until the Judgment Day drops those belts, do I think that there's a potential that the Indashir could win the match or win the belts. But thanks for the update. Appreciate it. Now, I know that you're also more excited than most about Nia Jax's return. And, hey, that's cool, man. I think the majority of fans are kind of ho-hum or down on the Nia Jax return. But if you're excited about it, cool, man. I mean, I hope that there are people out there that are excited about a Nia Jax return. So, alrighty. Let's get to our next one.
Oh, hey, Matt. It's Bevan here from Australia. Hope you're well. I watched Raw yesterday, and funny thing was just before the Rhea Ripley-Raquel Rodriguez match, they were backstage, and Raquel was getting a chat from Natalia, which I thought was hilarious, because we all know what happened to Natalia when she tried to take on Rhea. So I was like, oh, why would you get advice from Natalia? But anyway, it was interesting. At the start of the match, because Rhea had her back turned, and as she turned around, Raquel clotheslined her. So maybe Natalia was saying, don't do what I did. So at first I thought, it was kind of weird that she was speaking to Natalia, but it looks like she might have taken her advice. So yeah. The other thing too is, I must say, I'm really over the Usos. I don't think I've really ever been a fan of them. I can't see them being a leader of any imagination, if I'm honest. I think it's just their swagger, the way they walk to the ring, and and they bare their teeth, to be honest. And I don't want this to sound really horrible or anything, but even when they were together, but even when Jimmy walks down the ramp to the ring, the way they walk in that, it reminds me of hyenas, just trying to stalk the scraps. They were certainly not main eventers, neither of them in my eyes. Maybe in tag team wrestling, yes, for sure, but not in one-on-one stuff. I'm just through with them, to be honest. And now Jimmy trying to get back in with the bloodline. I just think, can someone else out of the bloodline please take on Roman Reigns? Because this is getting boring, honestly boring. That's really me for the time being. Hope you will. Keep up the great job. We love your podcast. Bye-bye.
Hey, Bevan, sounds like you're in the car somewhere. Hope you're driving safe. And I don't think I've ever heard anyone compare the Usos to hyenas stalking their prey. That's a first here on the show. Hilarious. I see what you're saying. I don't know if I'm on the same page with you as far as not enjoying the Usos. Well, specifically Jay, they're no longer in a team. For the first time in their careers, they're not, at least for Jay, not in a team. And it's going to be fun to see what he can do, what Jay can do. Now, Jimmy, him trying to get back in the bloodline after, leaving the bloodline, that I'm with you there. I'm over it. I don't need any more family drama with Roman and Jimmy. And is Solo going to attack Jimmy? Is Paul trying to undermine Jimmy but use Jimmy? It is like we've seen this, right? We need people outside the bloodline. By the way, we also need people on SmackDown, the men's side of things, to start talking about the Undisputed Championship. How is nobody even talking about it? Like, it's the most important and prestigious championship in the WWE, and not a single person in any promo is ever talking about chasing that belt, becoming Undisputed Champion. Nobody. And I understand that no one's going to mention it unless they're told to, because creative has nothing for them until they tell them that they do. I get that, but at least they could be talking about it. If Roman's not going to be there, at least the championship can be alive. And it'll make you more interested to see who could challenge Roman next. God help us if it's somebody in the family. I mean, we're done with that. It's got to be somebody external, does it not? And if that's the case, if it's an AJ or a Bobby Lashley or a returning Randy Orton, right? Then at least throw some red herrings out there. Get us to remember how that championship is why the men are there, why they are competing. What are they going to compete for right now? The U.S. title? No. LA Knight, sure, is eventually going to capture the championship, I think. But it just is, I'm with you on the boring side of things when it comes to Jimmy trying to get back into the bloodline. It's just, we've seen this, But thanks, Bevan. Hope you're well as well, or doing good. How about that? But thanks so much, and hopefully I hear from you next week. Let's get to, believe it or not, our final voicemail, guys, for the evening. So let's see who it is.
Hey, Matt, this is Randy from LA again, and I have 3 questions for you this week. The first question is non-wrestling related, but you said you started Daniel Jones last Sunday. I want to know what other quarterbacks you have on your roster, because I'm really concerned for your fantasy team, my friend, if Daniel Jones is the best quarterback you have. But anyways, just want to see if you can answer that question. And then secondly, most likely the Ray and Dominic feud will return at some point. Do you think that Ray being U.S. champ and Dom being the North American champ will reignite the feud? Dom did say recently that North America is bigger than just the United States. And I was just wondering if that could have been a little hint or a little clue that something's going to happen there, especially because they're both holding those titles. And then the third question that I had, lastly, just wanted to get your reaction to the Reddit rumor that Ezekiel is making a comeback and going to be the wrestler going to SmackDown in exchange for Jey Uso. Just kidding. Man, just kidding. All right. Have a great week, Matt. Thank you, man.
Alrighty. First of all, you got me on the Ezekiel thing. And I will say, though, that I've been looking a little bit at Elias's Instagram, and he's, a very Christian man, and he's been putting up stuff about, places that Jesus visited and things like that. He's very, very into, Christianity. Nothing wrong with that at all. I'm not even going to touch religion on this show, right? Religion and politics, stay away. No matter what your beliefs are, right? But my point is, since it has to do with wrestling, is that I saw him in those pictures, and he looked nothing like Ezekiel, where he had, the shaved face and everything. And in the picture, he had his full beard back. So, it doesn't seem, when you said that, I'm like, wait, what? I love the pause too, because you gave me, my heart sank. If Ezekiel was the trade for Jey Uso, I mean, people would be, to use a new word, apoplectic, meaning like they'd lose their, what. Now your other questions to, oh God, I'm going to embarrass myself. Now I know we're doing a little bit of football, way more than normal here, but it was a massive football week. But I got to say, I'm a New York sports fan generally. I'm from New York. People generally support the places that they're in, even if they oddly complain about how crappy the place that they're in is and how, it's so boring wherever you are, yet you somehow still support the teams that represent the place you're from. It's always funny to me. But anyway, so you're going to lose it. I decided I had 2 quarterbacks. Now our league is actually only 1 quarterback, meaning I only have 1 quarterback I can start on my team every week, but you can carry more than 1. And I had the choice between Daniel Jones and I'm going to butcher the name, but his first name, he's the Miami Dolphins quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. This is awful. That's how much I know sometimes about football. But I paid the price dearly, right? Because what did he do? What did Tua do, the Miami Dolphins quarterback? 3 touchdowns, 466 yards. That would have been 32 points for my quarterback. Instead, what did Daniel Jones give me? Daniel Jones gave me -3 points. So he actually was, he took away from my team. Awful. And what if you're sitting there thinking, what were you thinking? What I'm thinking is, number one, I'm a Giants fan, so I think my heart tugged at me a little bit, like I listened to my heart instead of my brain. And I was thinking to myself, well, he's super mobile. He does have weapons this year. It's a home game against Dallas, a rival that typically, you compete with. You don't always win, but you typically score points against. Let's do it, right? Again, and I counted on his legs, Daniel Jones's legs, to give me points and his new weapons. And that didn't pan out at all. I mean, the Giants got thoroughly embarrassed by the Cowboys. I mean, one of the worst games in franchise history. A game that could completely derail the season in week 1. That's how bad it is. And we have Daniel Jones who just completely crapped the bed, laid an egg. But it wasn't just him. The offensive line was terrible. No protection. He got sacked like 18 million times. I think it was like 7 or something, 7, 8, or 9 times. Yeah, the defense didn't exist. Like everyone from top to bottom. So you can't put it all on Daniel Jones if he actually had protection and the coverage on the receivers wasn't so damn good from Dallas. I think Daniel Jones would have had a better chance. But so Daniel Jones, I am benching his ass this week. I know it's in Arizona. I know that the Cardinals are the worst team in the league, so they'll probably score points there. But I'm just so angry at what happened. I don't want to start any Giants this week, even though I'm a Giants fan. So that's my logic. Now to your last wrestling question, guys, and we'll wrap it up here. Ray and Dom, do I think they're going to restart their feud, given that they're both champions, with Dom being the North American champion and Ray being the U.S. champion? They may have a conversation. They may run into one another. But if you're two champions, two separate singles champions, you're on two trajectories by definition. I don't need these two in a program that doesn't have anything to do with the belts, that is not allowing the men to compete for the belts that you're holding, and instead you're prioritizing a personal feud over not just one, but two championships. You're cannibalizing two stories that you could be telling. I don't mind them having a conversation, as I said, or having a match on Raw or SmackDown, whatever it may be, on SmackDown probably, but I don't want them in an actual program that would take away from two separate storylines being told. So no, I don't think until they drop those belts, or one of them does, do I think that they will reignite their program. But thank you, buddy, and thanks for the insult. Yeah, no, hilariously, or as fate would have it, I actually still won my game. That's how bad my opponent was this in week 1. Week 1 is always a crapshoot in the NFL, is it not? I mean, you could sit there and look at all the scouting reports, look at spring training, look at the previous year of what this person, that person did. Week 1 is a complete shot in the dark for everyone. You don't really get a sense of what the teams are, what their identity is until like week 5. So, yeah. But Daniel Jones, his ass is being benched. And I'm sure he'll score like 40 points and they'll kill Arizona. But, I just, out of anger, he is on the bench. He's going to warm that bench nice and hot this week. So, all right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me again. Hit the mailbag up if you want to ask questions. Mailbag at WWEpodcast.com. Again, patrons get priority placement in the show. As you heard, I answer those questions right up front. You can also get a lot of other exclusive stuff over there on patreon.com/WWE podcast, because we have ad-free everything. We also have a Discord server for everyone to join in and discuss live during shows. It's very active. I see you guys, some of the things you guys send and the memes you do are absolutely hilarious. So that'll be accessible to you. And of course, the exclusive show that'll be airing this Friday with Anthony DeMarco, the After Dark, for SmackDown and higher. The videos that I'll be posting at least once a week are going to be SmackDown tier and higher. So, hey, incentivizing you guys to join us and support the show. If you want ad free and you want more content and you want video and all that kind of stuff, hey, good way to do it. It's a win-win. So, all right. Thanks so much, everybody, for listening. I appreciate it. And I will be talking to you guys probably, well, unless you're on the Patreon side of things, I'll be talking to you guys on Sunday for the Weekend Review. So until then, take care. I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, We'll see you next time.